Last thing I want to touch on here, one of the biggest things of the year, Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, comes out here in the U.S. on April 13th.
It certainly does.
Huge.
Yeah, and this is probably one of my top 5 favorite games of all time. I've played A Link to the Past more times than I care to admit. But yeah, it is a masterpiece. And I think the thing about Link to the Past that's really fascinating to me, it's directed by the same guy that directed the original Legend of Zelda. And we saw this a lot on the Super NES, where it's almost a do-over of the NES version of that game, right? So The Legend of Zelda was this sprawling open world, for the time, adventure. And they did something a little different with Zelda 2
Right.
that, saw some backlash. And so they went back to their roots with this game, and it became this huge success. It's one of the highest grossing SNES games of all time. And for good reason. I think it's an incredible game, artistically, gameplay-wise, just across the board. Yeah, the music is amazing.
Is so
the sound
iconic.
engineering is amazing. That SNES sound chip was really powerful, and they found so many great ways to use it. I mean, it really there's so many recognizable little jingles that come out of it that are
right
still
from the get-go, and then all throughout the game.
Well, it's the title that really introduced us to a lot of the mainstay Zelda themes. You've got Kakariko Village, Zelda's Lullaby, like those all make their first appearance.
The Master Sword.
The Master
Sword starts there. You also have the Principle of the Two Worlds brought in this. That's become so much a part of the series. You also, this is the first Zelda, I think, that was really heavily engaged in puzzle solving in the dungeons. I think that Zelda 1 had a little of it, Zelda 2 had a little of it, but Link to the Past is just absolutely crammed with puzzle dungeons, and it works so well.
Well, and some of the greatest boss fights of all time, too. A couple of those bosses, to this day, are still my favorite.
And some of the puzzles, interestingly to me, relied on that light-dark world shift, right? Like there were parts of the solution in each area. You had to really piece that together, and to me, that was really engaging. I thought this game's really complex and is it's not just fun to play because you can swing a sword and beat up bushes, but you really have to think about how you get through each section.
And it's a reminder to us. Nintendo popularized Tetris, but ironically, in the process, they kind of we changed the idea of what we thought of as puzzle games. Before Tetris, puzzle games were load runner, running around and solving a level in an arcade stage. Then everything was blocks. Zelda took us back and reminded us, no, wait a minute, there's a whole other way to go about this, and a way that, frankly, I think I enjoy much more. It is a masterpiece of. It's also, again, restrained. It's not overly chatty. The story makes itself apparent in very engaging and organic ways as you're playing through it. You figure out what's happening quickly. It's whimsical. It's a wonderful piece of engineering and design.
I mean, we mentioned the themes, the parallel worlds, the Master Sword. What do you think the lasting legacy of Zelda is today? Because there haven't been a lot of imitators. Nintendo keeps doubling down on Zelda, but nobody else really seems to be able to capture that magic.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bottom line is just you can feel the love that went into that game when you play A Link to the Past. It's such a thoughtfully created world. And even on repeat plays, it never really gets old. It's something that sort of stands the test. Not sort of. I mean, I don't even know how I would say that. It completely stands the test of time.
Yeah,
and
I mean, they based A Link Between Worlds on it, so
well,
I mean,
and it's a game that I will be excited to show my kids. I will proudly put this in front of them and say this is one of the greatest games of all time.
It's a 3-year-old child.
Before you play anything else, you have to play
this game.
I also think it's inspired certain games, but not necessarily imitators. I think it's inspired schools of design. The Witcher 3, frankly, is Zelda with naked people and more talking.
They should put that on the box.
They should definitely use that as a marketing tool.
It's Witcher with naked people and more talking. You look at something like Fable 2, heavily Zelda inspired. But
there's even games that I brought up in pre-production here that I feel like the legacy of the Soul Reaver games are very inspired by Zelda. There's Darksiders, the original Darksiders. There's a lot of these games that try to put their own spin on Zelda, and a lot of them are very successful in doing so, but there's none that really capture that magic and that sense of wonder that you get when you're playing a Zelda game, and none of the Zelda games I feel really match up to this game.
I agree. I think Nintendo has a whimsy injection machine deep inside their Kyoto campus somewhere, and they just go in and every now and then, and that's what happens. That's my guess.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree. Such an awesome game.